Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson and Chuck Schultz. Welcome to the 505 Mind Racing Show. We have a guest coming on a little bit later, Harry Weed. Season ending, year ending, just race chat when we come back.
Inravio.com.
Well, we're back.
We are back.
We're back.
We're here, but we were there.
Yes, we are. Hey, it's all good. It's all good. It's December.
It's amazing. It seems like the race season takes a while to get going, and it seems like it never comes to the end.
Never.
But then all of a sudden, before you know it, it's at the end, and you're like, "Whoa, what happened?"
Hey, where are we? It's over. It's over.
Then the next thing you know, everybody's like frantic because like, I got to find some place to race.
Yeah.
So they're all going to the turkey derby,
I went to the Turkey Derby.
right? Got to win a turkey.
And then before you know it, then we have the holidays, and then people getting ready for New Smyrna. And then
Then
it's
Daytona.
Daytona.
And back to it again.
Back to it again.
Right? And as soon as it starts getting warm and the local tracks start opening up and everybody's getting back to it, it's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So there's not a lot of downtime.
It's funny.
But that's good because a lot of people don't want the downtime. Right? This way keep racing.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to Coach Gibbs a couple of years back at Pocono, Joe Gibbs Racing, and he was talking. He goes, "There is no off season. The racing season starts. Then it's building cars, prepping, schmoozing your sponsors.
And you're thrashing, trying to get everything ready for the next year.
Yeah.
So there's really no, hey, let's take a vacation or something. No. They're going. They're going.
Maybe a couple of weeks. That's it.
Maybe.
Maybe.
And to top it all off, to get ready for the new season, a lot of times they're, putting overtime in.
Yeah.
They're clocking in a lot of extra overtime to make it happen. I know we know guys down there that fabricate and car owners and team owners, and we know them all. They're all watching the show.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that the amount of time that they put in the, quote unquote off season when they're not racing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
a lot of work.
It is a lot, right? And people don't realize the work that's involved with that. And because they're in the grandstands, they're at the fence, my old friends, grab-up friends, I call them. And unless you're involved with a team, you don't know what's involved with that. You just think the season ends, they load them on the trailer, they go away on vacation, celebrate the holidays, they open the trailer, go maybe a week before, and go racing again.
Yeah.
That's not how it's done. Nope. It's not how it's done.
Well, I was talking to a couple of prospective advertisers and sponsors, and I was telling them, I says, we don't have a lot of the fence grabbers here. A lot of fans, we call them fence grabbers, but we do have fans as well. But for the most part, most of the people that are watching our show are the people that are doing the nuts and bolts. They're the drivers, the team owners, the car owner, the mechanics, the fabricators. They're at the track. They're the ones that are doing the day-to-day business of racing. That in the trenches, so to speak.
Yeah.
So these are the people that are buying the parts and so forth and doing that type of stuff, you know what I mean? Making the decisions,
Making it happen.
So it's not like they're sitting there, deciding whose T-shirt they're going to buy.
Right.
These are the people that are, spending the money to, buying crew uniforms and
It's all
trophies and awards and all the rest of the things for their tracks.
The things that people never think of. What's entailed with racing.
It's a big to-do list.
Yeah. I know when I was doing racing T-shirts and uniforms, I had this guy, Earl Paulus. Was it Earl Paulus? No. Earl Pearson. Sorry. Paulus is an asphalt guy. Pearson is a dirt guy. And this guy was buying T-shirts like he was using them for wallpaper. So I happened to be at one of the dirt tracks, and I went and found him. Because I think I had a delivery for him. He says, "You go through a lot of T-shirts." And I look around, and they're hanging on his trailer. They're like $25 he was selling them for. I said, "Oh, okay, that's good." He goes, "Yeah," he goes, "if I'll sell 10 shirts, I got 2 tires. If I sell 20 shirts, I have a set of tires. And when I need more, I call you up."
People don't realize that.
I'm like, whoa. Now, he got a good deal from, that's when I was with ASI back in the day, but wow.
But you don't realize about those other little things that are really, they always said, and I've always felt this too, you don't think about it, and not to bring up war, but, we send our troops somewhere. The most important part of that troop is who? It's not the guy running the show. It's not the troops on the ground. No. It's the guy who's buying the bullets and all the food, everything else to keep those troops alive, and getting it where it's got to be for those troops. Yeah. You don't think about that.
With no recognition whatsoever.
With no recognition whatsoever. And that's the guy who's got to make sure that the stuff comes in on time, that he's got plenty of it, and it's there before those guys hit the ground. Because you know what? Not only the medical supplies and everything else, but it's the same thing when you're dealing with a business like racing. You get to the track, you got to feed your guys. You got to make sure everybody's good. You got to make sure they're clothed. Make sure they got uniforms. Make sure they got radios. Make sure the radios work. Make sure they got helmets. It could be something as stupid as, what do we need? Do you have an air hose? Do you have a backup air hose? Do you have a backup air hose?
Yep.
You got 2 guys over the wall with guns. You got to have backup this and backup that. And they all have the PID carts, and we know now that, the PID carts are taken by one company and brought around, but that doesn't mean that the teams don't have to supply all the equipment and stuff that goes into that PID cart. So they got to make sure they got backup everything.
Yep. Because if they don't, then they're in trouble.
Right. So you're talking about a hauler here that's basically your parts center.
Yeah.
And when that guy brings that truck back, if you used X number of lug nuts, or you lost an air hose, or whatever you did, he's got to restock that. How long do you think it takes him to go through and do an inventory of that truck and restock it and make sure he's got X number of nuts and X number of this, that, and the other thing, washers and bolts and
that's
a job. That's a full-time job in itself, just stocking that truck.
When the modified series went to Canada, they went to Ontario. Delaware Motor Speedway in Ontario, Canada, and we had to go through Detroit. Every team had to have a full inventory of what was on their truck.
For customs.
To go through customs. And it had a match coming back. Because if they were missing anything, it was considered sold. So they had to pay duties and tax.
Really? Even if they left it there?
Yeah, and if they bought stuff,
well, I guess that's true.
They had to claim the tax on that as well.
Wow.
It was a tough deal. It was really tough. Some guys didn't get to go across the border because, unfortunately they had stuff going on.
Well, you also want to make sure that is proper.
Yeah, you can't cross the border and have open tickets.
No, that you can't do.
Or warrants. Because the custom guy don't want to hear your lawyers taking care of it. Yeah.
They don't want to deal with all of that. They just want
you
want to come across, this is what you need to do,
Yeah, you got to do this, you got to do that. Anyway, it's the time of year now. The awards banquets are settling down, and I believe the cup banquets this weekend, and that's always an interesting thing. And I had a discussion with somebody just the other night about what do cup drivers make? Because they see a race paid, $10 million to win. Or the purse, the $50 million purse. The guy wins the race, so he thinks he gets a purse of $50 million. And I'm trying to explain to this guy that many of these drivers are contract drivers. The money goes to the team owner, to the Rick Hendricks, to the Joe Gibbs.
The guy who's running the team.
Chip Ganassis, Stuart Haas Racing. That's who gets the money. I mean...
well, we also talked about it. In order to take one of those cars to the track...
Right.
How much is it for one race weekend?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, between cars, extra motors, the whole thing, you're looking at $1 million.
Yeah.
With a top-notch team.
I was looking at a thing in Forbes magazine today, and it says NASCAR has suffered from the retirement in recent years of many of its biggest names in racing. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards, even Danica Patrick. And the lost star power has dented viewership. But it's given team owners a chance to reset the salary structure. The days of the $10 million driver are about done. Jimmy Johnson is the last remaining driver, according to multiple sources, to be paid $10 million a year to go racing.
Whether he wins or loses.
Right. Now, salaries for the newer drivers are typically a six-figure salary, with only a handful of the drivers, the standouts, earning more than $4 million in base pay. Now, these guys are on stake. They get a paycheck every week, whether they win or finish 38th.
For those guys.
You know, and yeah, there's incentives in there, and there's things like if you get the pole, you get this amount. If you get, you know, a top 5, a top 10.
Right. But now, what kind of a deal did you swing? Are you, you know, they call it, which I get a kick out of this in other industries, but, you know, pay to play.
Yeah.
But ultimately, life is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to bring up names, but years ago we had a guy who was adamant about wanting to come on one of our Inravio TV network shows. And he's like, oh, listen, what do I got to do to get on here? And I said, well, you know, and I'll give you a little background. He was a chiropractor who wrote a self-help book, and he wanted to sell his book. He wanted to get on and talk about his book and sell his book. It's all well and good, but I told him, I says, listen, as soon as I bring you on any show that I have, and you start talking about your book, you're not Oprah Winfrey. You're not anybody that anybody knows. So the people that are watching are going to stay for a little bit, and even if it's a 10-minute interview, they're going to want to leave.
Right.
So there's a fee for you to come on.
Right.
You have to understand that really who wants to listen to you?
Yeah.
You know, not to be nasty, but ultimately
Fact.
true. I'm surprised you guys are here to listen to me.
Yeah.
You know?
And they've listened to me for so
And
long.
they've listened to you for so long. So, I mean, you know, so all I can do is screw it up.
Exactly.
You know, ultimately, that's all I can do is screw it up.
But you know, it's funny, you mentioned that, you know, pay to drive thing. And I know a truck team owner, you want to drive his truck, you're coming with some change.
Well, that's what it is.
And it's change that when you drop on the floor doesn't make any noise.
Yeah, well, you come in there and listen, we're giving you the whole setup, the team, everything's set to go. You get in it, you drive it, we'll put your name on the truck. This is how much it's going to cost you.
Yes.
That's really what it boils down to. You could have a ride tomorrow.
Yeah.
Start saving your dollars and cents.
Yeah.
You want to get out there and you want to win the next big racing. Oh, man, this guy is good. Let's sign him to $10 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's a shot you take.
Yeah.
You know, bands do that all the time. How many original bands are out there? And they, you know, bar owners are like, listen, if you want to come, you got to sell, you know, 50 tickets at $10 a piece.
Yeah.
You know, or $20 a piece, whatever it is. And if you don't sell those 50 tickets, guess what? You're still paying for them.
You're still paying for them.
Because he needs an X number of dollars to have a bouncer at the door, to open up the bar, to have a bartender.
Bartender.
You got to pay these people.
Exactly.
What happens if you get 3 people walk through the door? He's still going to make his nut.
Yeah. I know a lot of bands that operated that way.
Absolutely, for years. And it's what life is right now. It's pay to play. So, I mean, you can do that. Absolutely. There's a lot of drivers out there that plunk down the big gold Visa card, or the parents do, whatever the case may be, so they can go do racing. I get it.
I know the last, I'm going to say 6 or 7 years that I was involved with a race team that I owned. My drivers, I shouldn't say my drivers, the people, men and women who drove for me, brought something to the table.
Well, that's another option.
I got the cash, they got the hardware. Because I'm laying out the cash, whether it's from my wallet or from sponsors.
It's common.
It's, you know, it's, the new tires are on there. When it gets mangled on Saturday, the new body's there on Monday. You know, this guy
Well, it's
just,
still, you know, if you have sponsors, you still got to answer to them. Who's this new guy you're bringing in?
Exactly.
What's he going to do for me?
Yep.
You know, not that they're overly concerned about that, because ultimately they're concerned about having their name on the car.
Right.
But, you know, if you get a guy who comes in and says, listen, my father owns this business, or my uncle owns this business, and if I come racing, he's going to put his name on the side of the car for X number of dollars.
Yeah.
You know, there's got to be something that comes to the table.
Something.
It's what it, you know, unless you're pulling it out of your own pocket and doing your own thing and running your own car and having your own team. Either way, it's still costing you money if you do that on your own, right?
Oh, without a doubt. And that's what people don't understand. You know? The people who sit in the grandstands and see an accident, that guy wrecked on purpose. I don't know. between the both of us, we probably have 40 years racing.
Wrecked
Did you
on
ever
purpose?
Wreck on purpose to destroy
Not
your
on
car?
purpose. Now, I've gone airborne, not on purpose, but I mean, if I would have thought about it, I was like, listen, if I can get enough height, I might be able to get over the guy in front of me.
I tried to make a new exit off the racetrack and, come on off of turn 4.
We tried that.
It didn't work.
Didn't work. I figured if I took out the flag stand, the race would be over. I'd win.
Yeah, you'd win.
But that didn't work out either.
No, it
And I got enough height on that one too. But
you did.
still didn't make it.
It's-
So it's just it's one of those things where it's like if you went out and you played golf, who's paying you to go out and play golf?
Yeah, nobody.
Nobody's paying you to play golf, right? So it's the same kind of thing.
I know.
Now there's a lot of different racing out there.
I know when we went on your boat, and then when we came back and docked it, the dock master wasn't there with an envelope for us.
Sure. Oh, for us,
Yeah.
the dock master.
Yeah.
That was me, the dock master.
Anyway, we're going to take a break, and we come back. We're going to have our guest tonight, Harry Weed, and he is going to talk about some racing, and we'll just have some race chat, because that's what we like to do
Yeah.
when we come back.
Hey,
we're
what's
set it
oh,
up.
I said was gonna say what's up for some reason. Hey, we're set it up, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop. 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
Off here a little bit. But anyway, to my right and your left, we have, I guess, tonight, Harry Weed. Harry, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
How's it feel to be with these two guys that just talk about stuff and we make stuff up and, and here you are, and a field expert.
Well, actually, as far as you guys making it up, you do a great job.
Thank you.
You're professionals at it.
Oh, yeah.
Making it up?
Yeah. Making it up.
Yeah. Well, I
Making
went
it up,
both ways. I went
sending it
right
out,
to
whatever.
left.
Yeah.
Well, you've been racing for forever.
I
Your family's been racing forever.
my uncle was one of the founders of ARDC. He was my godfather. So I was back in the 30s, and been around between three-quarter midgets. We had a brief bout of insanity back in the late 70s, and actually ran a modified at Freeport. On
No better
Friday nights.
feeling than running a modified.
Nah, I had to get back into the midgets.
You
But,
prefer the asphalt or the dirt, or what do you like?
Primarily the asphalt, unless I can drive somebody else's car on dirt.
Because it's too dirty?
Car takes a beating. It's a little rough on it, but when you're footing the bill and you're paying it out of your pocket, and you don't have
there you
all
go.
these big sponsors, you
You
take care of the equipment and do what you got to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, Harry, you're saying the ARDC back, and that goes back, and that was a big series.
That
back
was
in the day.
ARDC back in the day. That was one of the biggest midget
Yes.
series, biggest midget clubs in the country. I mean, I remember hearing stories from my uncle how they used to tell guys where you were going to go. There were guys from Long Island that you're racing Niagara Falls. You're going up to Niagara Falls, and they had to tow up there, and a lot of these guys, they ran 7 nights a week.
Yeah.
And, that's what they did.
Yeah. I know Bob O'Rourke, who was a race director, not only here on Long Island, but down in Jersey, down in Florida. He said back when he first got involved in the 30s, 40s, 50s, that you could make a living racing back in those days.
Yes. My uncle did that. He made a living racing, and through that, I feel very lucky because when I started in the TQs, I started in the TQs in 1973. I was 17. That was when they dropped the age limit from 21 to 18.
Wow.
When I asked for a driver's license, they didn't ask for any identification and gave me my driver's license and
That's
the deal I had with my
If you
father.
showed up with a car, they really didn't ask much.
Well, back then they were pretty strict on it, especially Jersey. Jersey, we did most of the running in Jersey, and the deal I had with my father was once I got my driver's license, he had to vacate the seat. So, when I got my driver's license, we got in the car, started to head home from the American three-quarter midget meeting, and I said, "Okay, get your ass out of my seat."
Yeah.
And
I drove a TQ at Wall twice on the big track.
I loved it.
And, I thought modifieds were fun, but you're coming down the straightaway, you could almost, even with the restraints, almost touch the wall with your hand, and then you come down the corner and you're dropping 3 stories.
Well, my third time ever in a race car was at Wall Stadium, and standing at the fence, and probably got the best advice from the master of Wall Stadium. I don't think there was anybody ever any better than Parker Bone.
Oh, yeah. 6:59.
Parker came and talking to Parker, and Parker goes, we had talking and told him that, Henry Renard was my godfather, and he goes, I ran midgets with him back in the day. He says, you're kidding. So he goes, I'm going to tell you something. He says, I'm going to tell you how to get around here. He said, first thing, he said, how long you been racing? I said, this is my 3rd time in the car. He goes, okay. He said, this has to be connected to that right foot. He said, if not, you're in trouble.
Right.
Told me how to get in and out of the corners there. Loved it.
Yeah.
But I was lucky. I got to run, when I started with guys, Tony Rahmet, Len Duncan, Russ Clark, also known when the modifieds as Don Taylor, ran with him. Sonny Sanders. Sonny was he was the guy that he helped me along, and anytime I had any questions, Sonny was a great mentor and really enjoyed, he told me things to do and how to do it. And probably the first time my uncle came to the racetrack, he goes, and now he was instrumental in getting Nicky Fenora the ride with Eddie Allen when he won the championship in the Eddie Allen Offie, because Eddie wanted him to drive it. And so when we went there, Nicky was our flagman for American three-quarter for years, and he said, I want to see if the kids got it. I went out there and I got beat up by Duncan, Clark, Sanders, these guys, Rahmet. They were beating that car. I just kept driving it deeper and deeper in the corner to get away from them. And I think we ran more laps in that warm-up than we ran in the feature. Guys were running out of gas. But it was a great education because, you learned and I ran with ARDC, SMRC, American three-quarter. I ran the show in Nassau Coliseum, the only midget race they had there. But ran with Nima for a lot of years, ARDC.
So speaking about the Nassau Coliseum, where else did you race that doesn't exist anymore? I mean, over the years, you've probably seen a lot of tracks. I know that, Marty's always talking about, they had the boards over here at Deer Park or wherever.
On
They
the
race a
island,
lot
I
of inside
ran.
tracks, right?
I ran Freeport, and you talked about getting airtime. We built a brand new TQ. Second night out, I was looking over the wall out onto Merrick Road. That's how high I got.
Freeport.
Upside, I flipped the car and got airtime. and I was looking over the wall, thought I was going to wind up out on Merrick Road. The top of the fence caught me and brought me back in.
Wow.
Wow.
But ran Freeport, Islip, ran the half mile at West Hampton.
Okay.
We ran that.
That was an interesting place to run. A lot of people don't remember that.
That was a
the-
paperclip.
Yeah.
That was
and the
interesting.
Cup Series ran there.
Oh man, that was
Yeah.
tight corners and long shoots.
Yep.
Riverside Park in Agawam, Westboro Speedway, Trenton. We ran the midget to Trenton. We also ran the 3/4 mile at Pocono.
Uh-huh.
Right, the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. The inside oval there.
God, I can't think. There were a bunch from there.
They ran the IROC, the international, what was that? It was a race of champions that they
Right.
ran there. But the local race of champions, not the IROC.
Oh yes,
But they
yes,
ran
yeah,
the local, I know the modifieds were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there's somebody passed over there, or somebody hit the wall. Who was the guy that hit the wall over there? Joe. in the
Wow, I'm trying to
modified.
remember. I don't remember who it was, but I do remember the accident.
Yeah.
It's like 2 years ago.
No, it was a while ago.
No,
It
this
was
was
back in the race of champions.
This was back.
I
when
think
they-
that's
Oh,
what
the race of champions.
I think that's what did it. I think
Yeah.
that's why they stopped going to Pocono. It was too fast, too big. They went to Flemington after that.
Ran Flemington.
I was at
Ran Flemington on the dirt and
and on the
pavement.
asphalt. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at Flemington too.
No, I never ran Flemington.
Flemington, there was just one big.
Big circle.
One
I
donut.
officiated it with the tour, but I never raced there.
Dirt was an interesting place. A lot of guys bought. It was a fast track on dirt. And,
You were always sideways there.
yeah, you would.
I was sideways there with the blacktop.
Yeah.
But
Now, when you're doing this a long time, looking back, favorite place that you ever raced at?
favorite place? I had a couple of them. I think probably one of my favorites. I love Thompson in a midget. I mean, because you're really moving there.
Yeah.
I did like the 3/4 mile of Pocono. That was kind of tricky because it was you had that bump and you had to get in there the right way. But I liked Wall Stadium, and now this is with the
Wall's
closing of
nice.
Wall. Wall was a great place.
Yeah.
And now I'm running with the Vintage Midget Series, and with that, I like Bethel. It kind of reminds me of an Islip Speedway. Reminds me of Islip. I liked Evergreen. We had some really good. We had a good run at Evergreen.
Evergreen
Midget.
slash mountain slash whatever it's called. this
Oh
week.
yeah, depends what it is this week.
Yeah, that's. I
Yeah,
call
it was
that track the
interesting.
Law Firm Speedway because it has different names.
Oh, yeah.
So it's-
That's an interesting track. I was there too. That was
Yeah.
interesting, yeah.
I think Mahoning, that is interesting because you're racing on a saucer.
You are.
It's the straightaway's only about 25, 30 feet long out of the whole thing, and the rest of it's
Yeah, it's a whole different ball game, and that's why anytime there's a big race there, the locals have the advantage because they're racing there all the time.
Yes.
It's like when the Whelen Modified Series comes to Long Island. It's the only track that has tour-type modifieds
right.
that they go to. So the regulars are bumping guys.
In the
They're
tour.
getting bumped by the locals, and that's what happens.
Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing the changes and how everything comes out with Waterford for
Yeah.
this coming season. I know
That was an interesting track too.
I'm racing with VMR now, so VMR has a bunch of shows already booked for next year with Waterford, so that should be going back there.
The
should be fun.
TQs for forever and ever. I've been going to the indoor TQs in Atlantic City. What do you
That's
think
not
about
the
that?
same. It's terrible. Back when because I raced in Atlantic City in the old convention hall, and I ran the new one, and I walked in and looked at the new one, and I went, "Nah, you got to be kidding." It's sad because there used to be really great racing in the old convention hall back when you had guys, Jack Bertling,
Yeah.
and when I started running, I started, Drew Fenora, Lenny Boyd, Bobby Ciccone. I feel very fortunate because I got to run with all these guys, and there were some really great names.
Yeah.
You've got you know, when you ran indoors with all these guys and to make the field and to run. And, you know, when they used to show up, you know, 125, 130 cars, and you ran time trials all day Saturday to get it down to that show for Saturday night, and it was good, clean racing.
And how many cars did they take?
Competitive racing. They would pull 40 cars, and then out of that 40 cars, they would get a 24-car field.
A lot of guys went home.
A lot of guys went home.
Lot of guys
oh
went
yeah, oh yeah. And the thing is, now it's survival of the fittest.
It is.
It's terrible. It's a demo derby.
Yeah. I had the opportunity, which I didn't take, you know, it's my human brain took over from my racing brain. And I had the opportunity to drive a TQ at Atlantic City up until that day. And my arrangement with this car owner, who shall remain nameless, was the drivetrain was his responsibility. All the bolt-on stuff was mine. Now I'm still like, you know, this is great. I have an opportunity. I'm going to race it. And I'm sitting there. I'm at the Rainforest Cafe on the boardwalk having lunch. I'm like, what am I thinking? 28, 30 cars start this thing, 9 finish.
Yeah, it's
I'm going to be buying this thing at the end of the night.
it's a shame because it's not.
And that's if you're
racing.
able to reach around the back and pull a wallet out of your
Yeah.
pocket.
Yeah.
It's a shame because
I
it's
mean,
real,
sad to say, but
it's really that real competitive racing.
Oh.
You know, it's beating and banging, and if you look at pictures of cars that ran Atlantic City back in the 70s.
That's when I first started going.
In the early to early 70s. I mean, I started going to Atlantic City in the late 60s with my father. You know, I used to go there because he was a mechanic on a car, and he was wrenching a car before we bought our own in '69. But you know, you look at those cars and the same bumpers, Nerf bars, all of that stuff was the same as when you went outdoors and you came to run indoors.
Yes.
All of that was the same. You look at the TQs now. The TQs that are coming out there now, these things have bumpers that they're road warrior material.
The locomotive.
Oh yeah,
They're
it's cow catchers. Yeah,
Yep.
and to me that's not racing.
No.
well,
You know,
the other
there's no
end of that
fast
coin
food.
too is, I mean, that's bring back that whole modified thing with the Race of Champions. One of the things that they came out with at that time, I forget, I wish I could remember who it was that passed, but that modified driver hit the wall, and they're looking at this, they did an overhead shot of his car before and an overhead shot of his car afterwards. And there was like no bend on that car, but the guy dies in the car. You know, now at the time, this is way before the Hans device, so was it that issue? You know, it could have been, you know, we don't know, it
Yeah.
was back then. But, you know, one of the things that they started building into, you know, the other cars, you know, like the car of the future, right, the COT, the car of tomorrow, where they're building in crash zones and things like that. But I don't think none of the short track drivers have come to that yet. I mean, they're building these things stronger and stronger because they don't want to have to fix them every week.
Right.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that when you hit something, especially if you're indoors, you know, they got to hold you back. You're not going to go into the stands. You're not going to hurt the fans. That's the
Yeah,
idea.
they got the Jersey barriers all over the place. But
Right.
It's still.
The last time that I ran there, when I sold my car, I said, this is crazy. It's just not, you know, why am I spending all this money to come down to straighten the car out afterwards?
Right.
But
Yeah.
I wound up, and a guy that just got into a car and you know, didn't hold his line, came up, and I wound up going airborne and hit the Jersey barrier. So, you know, on my side, I was going through the air and you know, got out and walked away, and the first guy I encountered coming off was Joey Payne, and
Oh, yeah.
the ambulance crew comes over and said, you know, are you all right? And I looked at Joey, I said, really? She's asking that question? If we were all right, we wouldn't be doing this. He goes, yeah, you got a point. And she just looked at the ambulance crew, didn't know how to take that.
Yeah.
But, you know, you sit there and you think about it, and it's a way to be.
Yeah, my response to the ambulance crew, because and Chuck could attest to this, I wrecked a lot. I wrecked a lot. And I'd be sitting there, and they'd say, are you all right? And I go, no, I still have a left side. And they would like shake their heads like, you know, this is serious. I said, I think I can change it, like an upper ball joint, make it back out. Can I go now? You know? But yeah, the EMTs take this stuff pretty serious.
Well, that's kind of what they're there for.
Well, yeah.
You know, and you know, we think about these things, and there's so many things that have happened, and sometimes it's just they're head shakers, because you really don't, you know, you don't understand why it happened.
Right.
I mean, hey, you got hit in the X, you wound up head on into the wall, and you think about that, and you're like, what the hell? Why did that happen? You know, what about the guy that's racing? All of a sudden, he's on the infield, he dies of a heart attack in the car with the car running.
Yeah.
You know, how about, was it Dennis from Oval Speed had a little bit of a heart issue when he was running the car?
Yep.
You know, you don't think about these things. Who was the guy that was on the back of the golf cart fell off? The driver.
Larry Costa.
Larry Costa. I mean, he's a long-time driver at Riverhead Raceway. He fell
On
off.
his way to Victory Lane.
On his way to Victory Lane to give somebody else a trophy, because he was sponsoring
He
it.
sponsored the race.
And they go over the hump onto the track, and he falls off the back of the golf cart. He didn't put his arms out. Did he have a medical emergency beforehand that caused him to fall? But he hit his head, whatever the case may be, and he passed.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to be overly concerned, because we don't really think. We just, you know, we see a race car, we see a track, and we want to put them together. You know, that's all we want to do. That's really all anybody really wants to do, but we don't think about all these other little things.
One of our viewers is saying that Don Pratt was the driver that passed away.
The modified driver.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, I don't think about it as much as I probably should, but you remember when I was racing last time out of Riverhead Raceway there at the end, and you know, I was always this close, and I got hooked up with somebody, and I don't know if it was me got hooked up with somebody or somebody else got hooked up with them, but there was a piece of Nerf bar that came through my passenger window, and I heard it hit the halo bar. Didn't hit me, but I heard it hit the halo bar, boom, and it fell down in my car. And it was a piece of yellow Nerf bar by yay big.
Oof.
Right, and jagged edge, of course, because it got ripped off wherever it came from. But you think about that, if that didn't hit that bar, it was a little bit lower,
Could have taken your head off.
it could have been a lot different.
Yeah.
You know, and look what happened with Blewett. I mean, you know, you don't expect these things. You know, we try to be overly safe with all of these things, but you know what? Sometimes maybe we're not as safe as we need to be.
Exactly.
I mean, now you got tethers on your front, you know, your spindles
Right.
on your hoods, you know, and we're reactive. Everything we do is reactive because something happened.
Yeah.
I'm trying to bring everybody down, but a little bit of insight. You know what I mean? Look what happened at Riverhead, right, with the accident that was there. You know what I mean? Now everything's tethered. Well, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah,
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
You know, safety is never a bad idea, I don't think. You know,
Exactly.
even if it costs money, I don't think it's a bad idea.
Hey, we got to
But-
take a break, and we come back. We're going to continue this discussion on safety and how safety evolved over the years, especially in the midgets, when we come back.
Hi, I'm Remington.
I'm Emerson.
And I'm Sebastian.
We're Palais Royale, and you're watching Inravio TV.
There we go.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, this is Chris Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Hi, this is Mike Jarecki from My Race News, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Hey guys, this is Jibs from Ocean's 8 Alaska, and you're watching Inravio TV network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. So, before we went to break, we were talking about the safety innovations and how, as Chuck said, every safety innovation in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s was innovation from an injury, a death.
Was reactive of something else. I mean, we
like
just
with
brought
the-
up something at
yeah.
break with the throttle sticking.
Well,
I
you
mean,
know.
that was what the throttle stick in the Riverhead Raceway is what, when they hit the wall, lost the front spindle, took out one of the officials, Walt, right? Mm-hmm. Walt Etzel. And, so now you've got the toe kick. Everything's got to have a toe
Right.
kick so you can pull it back. But they also had the
Switch.
tethers, and the kill switch, but.
Guys were getting thrown out of these midgets back in the 30s and 40s in a wreck. So, okay, so let's give them a seatbelt. Give them a seatbelt. Now they can't get out of these cars because now when they have a situation, there's no bars around them, so they're getting their heads ripped off. Pardon the graphicness on that.
So you put the
So
bar
they put
over.
the bar in, and it just evolved.
Right,
and
late
evolved.
60s, advent the necessity for the cages. Mm-hmm. So the roll cages came in, and everybody was worried, oh, this is going to make everybody, driving over their heads.
Right.
But, it's necessary evil.
No,
Oh, it is, but it's like, again, it's a reactive thing, like the Petty bar.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it came from because of Richard Petty with the incident, right? And how many guys, and if you're running a car that has door bars and you don't have those things plated, well, you better plate them because that's just a smart thing to do.
Right.
You're sitting right there. And the smaller the car, the more plating you should put on these things.
And,
Everybody's concerned about being lighter and being lighter and being lighter, and you know what?
That's a problem. Everybody tries
That's a
to
problem.
cut the weight, and the bottom line is you keep cutting and cutting. Eventually, you're
You're
going to
losing
cut into
something.
safety.
Right.
After working in the top 3 series and 3 of the 4 touring series, I learned a lot about officiating. We went and had to seminars, and we watched video, and we saw that. And then you get down to the local level. And, those officials, and they work hard, don't get me wrong, they're not trained in anything. It's like, hey, I want to be in the first row. Oh, yeah? All right, here you go. Here's a shirt.
Show up on Saturday.
We'll see you Saturday. And they're teching cars.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of the things, one of my last seasons as a tech official in the Wheeling Modified Tour, they give me this new guy, and I had sneakers older than this kid, and his job was to follow me around to see what I do. And I was the undercarriage specialist, so I'm crawling underneath cars. Now we're both crawling underneath cars, and I have 40, 50 cars to get inspected before they go on the racetrack. Now I'm explaining to him what I'm doing because it was obvious to me he knew nothing about a race car. To the point
But he had a connection.
Exactly, and 4 cars into it, I said, so what qualified you to be a tech inspector? And I was a fan. I went to the races, and I just asked somebody, and they told me to go online. I went online, and I got a phone call. I said, really? And he goes, and he was a good, a southern gentleman, and he said to me, well, quite frankly, sir, now that I'm looking at these cars upside down, from the bottom, I couldn't tell which was the front or the back when it's on this.
That's dangerous. That's
and
dangerous.
he's making decisions.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous.
And my plea is to the weekly tracks, when you have these officials checking cars, it shouldn't be the guy you go to the diner with on Monday and Tuesday. It should be a guy who knows who's built them, who's raced them, who's wrecked them, who's put them back together, who's taken some engineering classes, who maybe is a
Something.
fabricator.
Or any of those above.
Something.
Yeah, well, see, I can understand that. It's most of it, if the guy's put them back together and he's wrecked them and he's raced them, chances are he's still wrecking them and racing them and putting them back together.
Right.
Because that's what he wants to do. Well, it's an addiction thing.
Yes.
Once you get racing, it's like it's in your blood. It's something you got to do. You got to watch. You got to be part of. You got to be in. So it's hard to find somebody who wants to be an official and start, pissing people off on the other side.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's tough. It really is hard. I mean, I would think for a local track to find somebody who's got the knowledge, who can come in, who can do that.
Yeah.
And then the other question is, how much does he want to get paid?
And what team is he close to?
Right.
Because
what alliances does
if
he
he's
have?
been going to
Because
that track and
if
so
he's
on.
been doing this for a while, he knows everybody, like we all do.
Yeah.
I mean, we can sit here and probably put together 1,000 names of people we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, look what we're doing here. I mean, I get messages all the time about, I love you two guys because you don't hold anything back.
Yeah.
We don't. We say it like it is.
And it used to be worse. Remember when I had the black hat? I was bad.
We say it like it is, and they like that. That's what people like. We say this is the way it is. But when you think about it, it's scary. Like I'll read the rules, and it says, you can have the option of having an extra leg bar in there. I put 2. Yeah. I'm not concerned about the weight. I'm concerned about the safety. I plate the leg bars too. You know what? I mean, it's a smart thing. You're so close to that side.
Yeah.
Well, the other part of this is building the car and putting all the right stuff in. But, part of it is, the seat belts don't last forever. Every couple of years, change the belts. Jersey comes, they check the belts. They make sure that you're changing those belts.
Well, they got the state troopers doing the inspections
That's
over
right.
there, right?
State troopers run the racing. But, when you're on drivers, takes responsibility of this is your tail in the car. One thing I promised my mother back when I was 17, when I first decided to do this, was, she said, whatever you do, make sure you wear all your safety equipment and you always have
Top-notch
the right
stuff. Well, we talk about that all the time. And when you go to the speed shop, Dennis will be the first one to tell you, well, I need a helmet. Well, how much do you value your head? Do you want the good helmet, or do you want the really good helmet? And I'll tell you, the first car I bought, and I'm not going to mention who I got it from, most everybody knows anyway, and it's not his fault, but I got the car, and it had an old seat. It had, I think it might even have been a fiberglass seat. I don't know.
Wow.
I could be talking out of my butt. But I know that the belts were like white. Now, they might have been, a different color at one time, but because it's so old, they were white.
Jeez.
But I pulled them out and I put red ones in because I was repainting the car and I wanted it to match. So I did that. But you know what? Not even thinking, because, again, here's the story. When I started racing, I literally knew nothing about race cars. I mean, I didn't have any family like you did to teach me how to do race cars. It was something I had to work at in order to learn all of these things. You know what I mean? So the only thing I had to go by was the rules, and said you're supposed to have seatbelts. Didn't say that they had to be within, the last 35 years.
And they had to be mounted properly, too.
And they had to be mounted properly.
They had to be mounted to something.
To something.
Yeah.
Not with a 1/4-20 bolt.
No.
From Home Depot.
No.
Right.
Not, yeah,
and
grade
by
5,
Grade 5, right. And by the way, the hash marks on it, this came up, believe it or not, the last couple of weeks. When you got hash marks on the top of that thing, you got to make sure you're using grade 8 bolts. Don't skimp.
Nah.
Don't skimp. I mean, this is like the ultimate, the last thing you want to do is not come home from racing.
Well, you only skim once.
That's all you do. And you always want to make sure you can live to race another day.
That's
Right.
it.
And
that's
go to
an
work on
important
Monday.
thing. And go to work on Monday to pay for the racing for the next weekend.
Well, that's
That's
the other part of it.
It's an important thing that, a lot of people, and how many cars that are light, that they use light tubing, they try to get away with this, that, and the other thing. I mean,
That's silly.
everybody pushes the envelope.
Right to the edge on it. A few times that I went to my local racetrack here on Long Island, guy would win, and I'd go over by the scales. Rolled it on, rolled it off, rolled it on, rolled it off. And they'd be like 2 or 3 pounds. And I'm like, as a driver and a crew chief, how do you allow that to happen to yourself? that
It's embarrassing.
25 pounds is not going to make or break coming off the corner. It's not. Not with the engines they have today. You know, it's not like years ago where, you know, every little bit, people were grinding down the heads of the nuts sometimes to make it lighter. And they I remember a guy, an old timer, everything he ground off, he put in a bucket.
So he could weigh
And
it.
then he weighed the bucket.
Yep.
Yeah.
See what I weigh? I saved 3 pounds. Okay.
When I started, I had a guy who ran a drag car. And, yeah, he was a kid. But it was somebody that I knew who raced, right? So he came out to help me at the track. And he's like, you know, he's looking under here. He goes, man, you know how much weight you'd save? You cut off all these, look how long these bolts are. You got this bolt sticking out an extra ½ an inch. You could cut all these bolts off. I'm like, all right, it sounds like a lot of work, but, you know.
You know,
But still, like you said, is it really going to help you? Sometimes a heavier car is not a bad idea.
Right.
I had the opportunity to, years ago, shake down a guy from North Lindenhurst, built a rear-engine midget, went over, looked at it, beautiful car. I'm following Sonny Sanders in the Petraeus car down the backstretch of Riverhead, and we're just about 3/4 of the way down the straightaway, and all of a sudden this thing made a wild right turn into the wall, stuffed the thing in the wall hard, hit hard, and the seat wasn't like you had now, the full wraparound container
butler
seats.
seat
This
with
was kind of, well, I kind of rattled around in there a little bit, and I get out of the car and I look, and I said, something just broke. So they took me to the hospital to get checked out, went to Riverhead Hospital, come back, and we're looking the car over and start looking. And what the guy did was he cut down a rack and pinion to fit in this, and he brazed the ends on it,
Back on.
and then chromed it. But when you looked at it,
It looked like it was stock.
It looked good.
and he goes, can you, you scared of the car? I said, no. I said, I'm scared of what you built.
Yeah.
And we took a grinder and started grinding all this chrome, and he's having a fit. And I said, I'm not getting into another race car that was done half-assed.
Right.
And it's things like that. You got to use your head. You got to.
And you know, so
Be
many
smart.
guys, they just want to drive. They don't ask those questions. They don't look for those things.
See, I looked the whole car over, but you can't see under the chrome. And boy, that was
I got to tell you,
that was an
one
education.
thing that I never did, and I would have a hard time doing, is hopping in it. It's just me, and you know what? Even if it was a cup car, I'd probably have a hard time hopping into a car that somebody else put together. And I wasn't crawling under for 40, 50, 60, 100 hours.
A lot of guys.
Just to see and
You
look.
talk about a lot of guys died hopping in somebody else's car that wasn't, trying to bring
you
it
know
up to
what?
speed
That's-
and that. And
For me, that's number one.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to know what, I'm sorry, but I'm even the guy that welds it. I want to make sure that thing is tight. If it's going to break, if something's going to happen, the weld's going to be solid. Rip the pipe if it's going to be that bad, but that weld's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what
Exactly.
I mean? I mean, you saw how I built those cars. I mean, you saw that one car I had. Remember those roll bars I had in the back of the leaf spring car? Mm-hmm. It was a Spiderweb roll bars. I have to take a picture of that thing and bring it in. Spiderweb roll bars. But I'll tell you what, that was the strongest rear you've ever seen in your life. There was no twist going on there.
Yeah.
You know?
It's all about the safety. And I can remember the late Walt Edsel saying, if you have a $10 head, or $10 brain, go buy a $10 helmet.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember being at, what was the name of that place? ATV. Remember ATV?
Oh, yeah.
They had $10 helmets. Speaking
Sure.
about $10 helmets, they had a clearance bin, and there were $10 helmets in that clearance bin. And I remember, I'm not going to mention any names, but he knows who he is. He pulled it out of it and looks at it and goes, that's a pretty good deal. I'm like, put it back.
The thing is, that snow rating's there for a reason.
I almost bought a helmet when I first started racing at TSS.
Really?
Because it was so cheap.
I got to tell you, I'm right there with you, because I bought a brand new helmet. This thing doesn't have any marks on it. I think I raced with it once or twice. It's got the radio in it, the whole thing. I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, this thing is brand spanking new, but it's outdated.
Right.
Because it's been sitting on my shelf for 20 years.
I have one that I ran, I bought it, ran it. The next year they came out with the snow.
And you
But I went and bought a new snow.
There you go.
Hey, that's my
Yeah.
head in there.
That's right. You know
A
what?
lot of people say I don't use my head, so, and
What
I
do you-
just told them I've been
these
upside down in a
guys-
midget a few times. That's why I am the way I am.
Exactly. These guys in the Enduros, and not to knock them, that's their niche. They're using DOT helmets. I can't get the words out. That's not meant for racing. And they're picking up some speed once you clear the junk out of the way.
Yeah.
No, that was always a rule I tried to change, and they would never let me. You can't add that expense to them. Okay, I guess we could add the expense to the lawsuit though, and we have to get a lawyer to fight them because it's not a NASCAR thing. It's a regular open the gate and go
It's
racing.
just, it's common sense, really,
tough.
is what it is.
That's a tough thing.
Well, there's a lot of Enduros that don't require a roll cage when you get to some of the bigger tracks. Like the first time I went to Thompson with an Enduro car, they required a roll cage. And, that was not the Uber roll cage. You get the small Econo roll cage. This guy comes with like 3 bars.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing with that?
Yeah.
Pipe, black pipe.
Black pipe. No, I got the right stuff.
And it's well to the rocker panel.
Yeah, exactly what it
Good
was.
for hot and cold running.
It's
Welded to
welded
the
to the
rocker
rocker panel. Yeah, what is that going to do for you?
That ain't doing
it
nothing.
looks good.
Yeah, and the seats were like bolted to the floor of the car, so the car goes flipping, and the roll cage goes ripping out, and there's the seat like an ejector seat off of a plane going this way.
No, but the better part of that is it required a roll cage. They didn't specify what it needed to be, but as long as you had the halo bar and you had 1 or 2 bars going this way or that way, you were in good shape.
Yeah.
But they didn't require a racing seat either.
No.
So the guys, when I went there, the one guy, he's like, oh, I got this racing seat. I put a fiberglass racing seat. Got this racing seat, and I put this racing seat in. Man, what a difference this racing seat. Because I got one of these, the bucket seats I got from the junkyard down there. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, I'm telling you, this racing seat is great. And I'm looking at it like it's the holy grail. I'm like, maybe one day I'll be able to afford to get one of those, I'm thinking.
In 1978, I took a car out. It had a nice cover for a seat, nice pleather cover
It was styling.
over a cut wooden barrel.
No.
Kid you not. Kid you not. Anyway,
Really? Well, it's better than a pizza box.
pizza box firewall.
That's right.
Pizza box?
Now I didn't. The
There you
rumor was
go.
I drove this car. I didn't really drive it. I sat in it.
He just crashed it.
I drove it after the firewall was corrected. But you're sitting in this car and you see this square rectangle, like.
And you knew that one more of those squares, you get the free pizza?
That's what it was. I'm thinking a wire harness went through there, and I said to my buddy, cover that up. If there's a fire, it's going to blow right on me. And he just puts the screw and he goes right through the box. I look at the other side, and it was the pizza box.
See?
Oh, we got to change this. Let's change this to like a real firewall.
Unreal.
Anyway, we got like less than a minute. Wow, time flies.
Wow, that's pretty quick.
Time flies. Really does. Having fun.
Well, we talked about a whole bunch of stuff, so.
Yeah, we did. Stuff. Good stuff.
But your safety is number one, should be number one on everybody's list.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, we
No
don't
matter
want.
what you do.
Because, it's self-serving. We don't want to lose any viewers, so.
No,
We want to
absolutely.
make sure you guys are here Monday
That's
for our
it.
shows. So you
Absolutely.
better make sure you go out and spend thousands and thousands of dollars to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And
but
you
you
got
know-
all winter to do it now.
That's right. All kidding aside, though, I mean, it's something that you really should be number one on your list. Before you do anything else, that should be number one on your list.
Yeah.
If you don't want to think about yourself, think about your family.
I think of it because I had that wild and woolly crash, and my kids, and it happened 22 years ago, they still remember it. And I was dead. They do it. Everybody thought I was dead.
Well, I still remember it. Of course I do.
Yeah. And that messed me up for a while.
That was a bad one. I wonder what sponsor, if you went to him and said, listen, I want you to sponsor my race car, what do you need the money for? Instead of saying tires, I need to buy safety devices for my car. I need to upgrade my safety in my race car.
imagine.
They'd probably give you twice as much. What do you think? I wonder.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
I'll have to try that,
right?
boy.
Ploy.
What's a ploy?
Listen,
Whatever it takes.
whatever angle you can use.
You know?
Well,
Anyway.
you know what? I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I
Yep.
hope everybody did good.
Harry, thanks for your time coming
Yes,
down
Harry,
and talking
thank
about
you.
some of this
Gentlemen,
stuff.
thank
Thanks
you.
for coming
I had
down.
a
We
lot
had a
of fun.
blast.
My knowledge about midgets is the couple of times I drove it at Wall, and man, I'm looking to go back. It was fun. It was
Yeah,
fun.
come out and run with us up in Waterford with the Vintage Midget Racing Series.
I would do that.
All right,
I would
I'll
do
get
that.
you a car.
You get me a car.
All right,
I'll be on the ferry.
okay, it's a
Huh?
done deal.
Done deal. Run our
All
radio
right.
banner.
You got it.
All right, excellent. I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules tonight and to chat with us and listen to us. And Jay Slice, again, the king of the chat room, thank you for always being a part of that. So whoever your endeavors bring you this week, please be careful, please be safe, and enjoy. And we will see you all next Monday. Good night, everybody.
Inravio.com.